Hey guys, I am coming in to do a recipe for turkey taco boats. I don't know if that's going to be backwards or not. I will share the image of this in the comments, but it is also in, if you go, it's in Beachbody On Demand under recipes, under turkey taco boats. So I showed you in the last video the little mini spaghetti squash we have. So I cooked them in the microwave. So the way, this is an itty bitty one. Hey, Kelly. So typically I have been cooking spaghetti squash in the Instant Pot, and I'll put it in whole or I'll cut it in half. If I cut it in half, it always gets waterlogged. I have trouble determining the length of time to cook it in this Instant Pot. So I'm going back to the microwave because it's just easier. So I put all three of these in. I started at 5 minutes. I checked them, and then I did 2 minutes, took out the smallest one. A couple more minutes for this one, and then this one was a bit bigger, so you can make it work for all sizes. You got to watch temperature. So I took it out, I cut it in half, I took the seeds out, and I'll probably take that end, although let me use this because it's pokey. And then the big one, it's got the seeds in still. It's super simple to take the seeds out, and it's actually easier. So you can cut it in half before you cook it, take the seeds out, and then put it in like face down in like a container like this with a little bit of water. Why? It's so much easier to cut in half when it's cooked. It's super easy to take the seeds out. You just have to go through, and it's a little different color between the inside, and really it doesn't matter if you have the inside stuff anyways. It doesn't cause any problems. So I just scoop that out, and then we have the clean bowl there. So when we go to cooking, I'm gonna probably, those aren't super big. I'm gonna cook it all, and we'll see if it lasts for 2 meals for my family, because it's my son, my husband, my daughter, and I. But I'll be able to fit 3 of these in each of these containers. So I'll lay them out like that, then I'll put the filling in. So the filling too is super simple, super simple. Half a medium onion, half of a red pepper, 3 cloves of garlic, raw extra lean ground turkey. I am actually using ground beef because we just got a bunch of beef from my husband's work. Taco seasoning, fire roasted diced tomatoes. I don't have fire roasted, so I'm using regular. And then toppings are shredded cheddar cheese, sour cream, and cilantro. So easy and good for the whole family. And you could make this topping and put it in regular tacos if any of your family are like, I am not eating spaghetti squash. There's always options, right? So I have I showed you in yesterday's video how I cut my sweet pepper, and I'll just cut it down the side so that the stem will be at the top, and then you can pull it off of the top or cut it off the top, and most of the seeds stay in the top, so it's kind of tidier. So let me just put this like this. So I'm just gonna chop this into little pieces so you get to enjoy watching me chop for a minute. I'll put the pepper on the plate here. So usually I try and chop the second ingredient. Depending on how picky your family is, if you cut things like this super small, they're less likely to need to pick it out. Actually, my husband and my daughter, neither of them love cooked peppers, but I'm adding it anyways. Because the more veggies in there, the more, you just get more with lower calories. So you can easily put in cauliflower rice in this recipe. Most people wouldn't notice. You could grate some zucchini and put it in this recipe. So if you have kids that are like protesting vegetables, find ways to sneak it in. So I would not do the spaghetti squash for someone who's protesting vegetables, but I would chop more vegetables into the dish. And if you take the skin off the zucchini so you can't see the green, no one knows it's there. And if they ask, oh, it's just some onion. And if they are protesting onion is really just flavoring. It's not really a vegetable. Like Come on, these are little white lies that moms are allowed to tell for the good. I mean, there's no harm, unless you're telling it to someone who's got some weird allergy. But they're your kids. You want to get them to eat vegetables so they're healthier. Sometimes it's your spouse, right? Sometimes they have this thing about vegetables. So finding ways to get them to eat more vegetables benefits everyone in the long run. So onion, this is actually a sweet onion. That's all I had in my pantry too. Don't stress about ingredients. So many ingredients can be mixed around. If you're baking, it's a different story. Baking really requires exact measuring most of the time. And it's harder to change out ingredients because you can't do you can't switch regular flour for almond flour, and that is not a perfect switch. You do need to make some extra alterations. It can be done, but it's not just a one for one. Something like, a red onion for sweet onion, for a yellow onion, use what you have. Don't overcomplicate things. So many times you can just replace a vegetable. So the nice thing about a sweet onion is it's less likely to make your eyes water when you're cutting it. But if you have an issue with onions and making your eyes water, I have heard that ski goggles work super well. Or, snorkel mask that covers your nose too. But just covering your eyes so you don't get the fumes in there is super effective. So there's half an onion. I'm debating using more, but I think I'll keep it as half. And I'm gonna take you over to the stove and I'm gonna turn it on. And my daughter fills up dog kongs for the dogs. And this is where we dry stuff on our stove, so we don't have to dry it by hand. So when there's dishes on the stove, it usually means they're clean. So I am just gonna heat that up, and I'm going to prop this up on one of the dog toys, because they are clean, I promise you. Not that you care, because you're not eating the food anyways. I also discovered I don't have taco seasoning. So there's so many recipes for taco seasoning, but most of the time it's a combination of chili powder, cumin, coriander, and salt. So I'm just gonna make a little guesstimate today. I do a lot of that in my cooking. I do a lot of I feel like adding a little more of this today, and if there was not a whole pound of ground beef in this, you could add in black beans as well. Any bean would work in this recipe. So I'm gonna start, I quite like this avocado spray from Costco, as long as you don't pull the top off. Just gives you a little spray in the bottom to keep things from sticking. This is a non-stick pan, but it's all good. So the onion is gonna cook for 3 to 4 minutes. I do recommend turning fans on so your whole house doesn't smell like the food. But some other tricks, when you're cooking onion, sometimes it starts to burn, it starts to brown before you add other things in. So you can add a little bit of water that helps the onions cook up and lose some of that oniony flavor. Sometimes it's a little too intense, and it won't burn. So I just go over and grab a random cup off the counter. It's a clean wine glass. Just put a little water in there. So I also already cooked the ground beef, and I have that draining because it was, when you do not buy your ground beef at the grocery store, you really have no idea how much fat's in there. So I always recommend draining a little bit off. So I am just gonna pour a little water in there, and it's gonna cook off while this cooks. And I really gotta turn this fan on for a sec. One of my other favorite things while I'm cooking is a glass of wine. Maybe that's why I enjoy cooking so much, because it's just if you can kind of dig into your cooking, enjoy what you're doing and enjoy it with a drink. It doesn't have to be alcohol, but just so you can relax a little, and just makes cooking so much, when you're doing it every night, and it's a night you're not rushing to sports or rushing in and out of the house, sometimes it's just nice to relax with a drink. It's only 4:40 here in California though, so I'm not going to dive into a glass of wine yet. So that's just simmering. I'm just going to cook off the water, let those soften a little bit, and then I'll add the red pepper. So if there's anything else, no, I'd really like to add some beans to this. So I think I'm going to. That's again a personal choice based on what will the people in my family like. If you're following To Be Mindset, there's no beans in this recipe because it's a dinner recipe, so it's not going to have the fiber-filled carbs. But I do follow To Be Mindset, but when I'm doing a program like Lift More, which I'm doing now, I need more carbs. My body just needs them. So there's no reason for me not to add them to this recipe. So I'm going to go grab a can. I will be right back. You can watch the steam come off of my onions. Okay, give this another. We added the red pepper. So I just diced that up already. I'm gonna give that a stir. Always good to check your recipe every so often just to make sure. I'll shut that off again. Just to make sure they're on the same wavelength you are. I'm just gonna grab my garlic. Okay, garlic, another hack I have. So ideally, you have cloves of garlic. You just peel them and you squish them and you squish them. There are so many tools for squishing garlic. That's another thing. You can chop them, or you can press them and put it in the garlic. This is my favorite tool for garlic. It's a garlic press, and you just put your clove in there. And you know, I grew up with these, so they were just normal. But I've learned that not everyone uses garlic presses. Some people chop their garlic. Some people, there's other little chopping gadgets. But this is super slick. You just squish it in and then it comes off the edge. I have not peeled my garlic and I am ready to go right now. So another hack I have is these little guys. I get them at Trader Joe's. I know you can get them at other stores too, but it's a clove frozen in each container. Yes, there is some added sunflower oil and sea salt. So added ingredients. So if you want to keep perfectly clean, don't use these. But for me, for convenience, I use these a lot now because you pop them out, they go in your meal, and you're ready to go. Better than garlic powder because it's just, you know, nothing wrong with garlic powder. That's just ground up real garlic too. But this is a lifesaver for me. So this is cooking nicely. I'll just give you another, I won't cover the camera. The garlic's blending, all the liquid is off. I'm gonna pop that back down there. I'm gonna add in the ground meat, ground beef. And I drained it with a paper towel on the bottom so so the fat wouldn't go down the drain. So I added the ground beef. Combine that. So if you were adding a meat, 93% or more lean, you could just add it to the ingredients and cook it in, and you wouldn't necessarily need to take off the grease, the fat, because there wouldn't really be much. So because that is already cooked, I'm going to add in my tomatoes. Those are the beans. Those are the beans. Here's the tomatoes. Trying to get tomatoes and beans and things that don't have much salt added is always the best choice, and just so you can control how much salt you add, and add quality salt rather than just table salt. I'm gonna add my black beans now too. Those I'm gonna rinse. So ideally for any tomato sauce type dish, you want to combine the flavors and let it thicken up a bit. Because if you just add diced tomatoes, it's gonna kind of separate. So you're gonna want to cook it for 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm not gonna keep you on here while I do the 10 to 15 minutes. Typically when I do a tomato sauce, I'll add some tomato paste as well, which this recipe doesn't call for, but the more you cook, the more you can taste things and go, oh, you know, that could use a touch of this. I'm gonna do a little, my taco seasoning. The recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of taco seasoning. So this is how I cook. Just throw a little bit of that on, a little bit of this on, see how it turns out. Sometimes my family's not too happy with me cooking that way, but it's usually pretty good. And I'm going to add a little salt because I haven't really added yet. And one thing this called for was fire roasted the tomatoes. So I'm just going to add a few red pepper flakes, not a lot, because I don't want it spicy, but I just want it to have a little more. So if you look at that, it's going to be a nice sauce, nice and saucy. So this you could put on anything. You could put this on pasta. You could put it on taco shells. You could put it on a taco salad. You could have this on a taco salad instead of on spaghetti squash. But I am going to let that cook for a few minutes. I'm going to turn that fan back on. I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm just going to turn this around. I'm going to take the seeds out of that, but for example, I'm going to layer it in. I'm going to divide it between the 3 spaghetti squash bowls, and then I'll put it in the oven, and it's supposed to cook for probably not really that long. No, it's actually good to go. You just put it under the oven to melt the cheese. So I'll probably put it, if I use a small container, this is my friend, my toaster oven / air fryer / heater and oven replacer in the summer. So that container will fit in here if I do one at a time. Melt the cheese, get it all ready, and then we can serve it. And I don't have sour cream if we want that option. We've got, what will work well is, we always have plain Greek yogurt, and I can mix that with a new seasoning I got at Trader Joe's, ranch seasoning. I just add it to like Greek yogurt, and it makes it taste kind of like ranch dressing. We have cheese we can put on it, but it'll just make it yummy and delicious, and no one really knows that you're having a low carb healthy dinner when you do it that way. So we have to get past this mentality of like healthy is boring and healthy doesn't have fun ingredients, and healthy can be delicious and fantastic and tasty, and we can still add in all sorts of yummy toppings. So The recipe calls for sour cream, so use sour cream. I just don't have any. And again, don't worry about finding all sorts of fancy ingredients for recipes. I find if there's too many ingredients, it's just too much work. And sometimes you can find ready to go things too. One more thing, there's always something. Something I like to keep in my fridge, I mentioned I add tomato paste to that. When I get this tube at Trader Joe's, and I can just squeeze like a tablespoon in to help it thicken up and just be a little richer, which I'm gonna do right now after I turn this off. That stays in my fridge. You just make sure I don't keep it too long. Look for anything icky on there, but it is another great item to have on hand. So I'm gonna wrap this up now. I'm gonna put the recipe in the comments, and I'm also gonna put a picture of the finished product in there when it's done. But I have another 10 minutes before I can assemble these. So have a fantastic day. Hey, Michelle. And yes, I don't know. I can't see if there's any comments. It's not telling me that, but we will talk to you later. And if you have questions about this recipe or anything else, we've got 2 more days of recipes, and we're going to probably go super simple the next 2 days. So let us know what else you're looking for, because we would love to hook you up with some easy recipes that should work for the whole family. And stay tuned for September groups focusing on nutrition, because we need help, you need help, so we kind of do it together. Anytime we need to regroup and refocus on our nutrition, we help you guys, because it helps us at the same time. So we're all in this together. So have a fantastic day, guys.